Hey, it's been a long time since I have talked to you live. I think since my cross-country drive, pray, heal adventure. But I wanted to talk to you today about Good Friday. You know, I really miss the days of having my regular ministry because I got a chance to share about the teaching, you know, a lot. Well, today I was in East Haddam, and I did the message for the crosswalk. We have a crosswalk in town, and people leave from St. Bridget's Church, and they go all from church to church, and they do different stops where they have different pieces of scripture that are shared by local clergy. Well, I am a local clergy, even though my ministry is online. So I participated every year. And this year, the words I was given by the committee to use for my piece was, my God, why have you forsaken me? And I thought, what could be more perfect than that for, you know, the year I've had? So I didn't find it was difficult to come up with a lot, but I'd like to share with you the message I had this morning. First of all, here in lovely, beautiful Moodus, Connecticut, and it's rainy. It could be worse. It could be cold and rainy. It could be snowy because it's still not April even. But it was not too cold, and it was rainy. And I thought, you know, how many of us prayed for a good day for a crosswalk? Then I realized, well, isn't that kind of an oxymoron, because we are not celebrating Good Friday. We are commemorating an event that was not truly pleasant, even though it was the beginning of the foundation of the Christian faith. So anyway, although we prayed for it, I thought the perfect weather happened. It wasn't the weather with the sun and a great day to go out and walk, especially lugging a cross behind you. So it was a perfect day because of the need for umbrellas. And I thought about, you know, all those love songs that say, you know, my tears fell like rain. And I thought, you know, Good Friday, maybe it's more like the rain fell like tears, because we do all have tears in our lives. And then I talked about before, what happened before this, my God, why have you forsaken me? Because I think this is a journey we've all taken in our own way. First of all, Jesus was going about his teaching. He was doing great things. He was changing lives, raising the dead, healing the sick, all kinds of wonderful things, teaching about God and loving God and doing good. And here he winds up being arrested and beaten, and his friends and disciples betrayed him. They walked away from him. They, you know, and there he was abandoned. And yet, even in this place of abandonment, he said to the people who were nailing him to the cross, forgive them. They know not what they do. You got anybody you need to forgive? And sometimes we think they don't deserve our forgiveness, whether they do or not, and they all do, because that's the way God works. But he did. He, in the middle of this, I can't even begin to imagine the pain he was in, but he said, forgive them. They know not what they do. And then he said to the two who were crucified on either side of him, this very day, you will be with me in paradise. Well, wow, going through all that and being able to say, you know, he was really holding up. And most of the folks had walked away from him, aside from those who were jeering. But he looked down, and there was his mother and a few of his people who stayed by him. And he said, dear woman, this man is your son, and this is your mother. So he was even making sure that the others were taken care of while he was there in the middle of the worst that could happen. I mean, we don't want to think about the worst that can happen, but the worst does happen. And in this event, I'm sure that that's where we came in with Jesus saying, finally, being worn down by pain, worn down by the beating, and disillusioned by the fact that he had done everything right. And here he was in this position. My God, why have you forsaken me? To me, he was teaching us how we can overcome, because that's what it's all about. Jesus taught us all about the right living, the way to live, and the way to have victory. But it sure didn't look like it right then. Have you had a my God, why have you forsaken me moment? I have, and most of you know that already. So I'm going to try to be very good about saying this, but the one thing I always prayed for was that I would not lose a child. So when I lost my precious Sammy, and I had always prayed it, and one thing, God, not my kids, you know. And when Sammy passed away, I said, how can it be that the one thing I asked you not to do, I had to trust this teaching. I gave my life to this teaching, which is why I was so upset when Sammy passed away. I mean, I gave you everything you asked. I gave you my life. I give you my money. You know, I take the guff that I get from a lot of people. Why have you forsaken me? But I trusted this teaching, not because I picked up a book and it said, oh, trust the teaching. I did it because it's a part of my everyday life. That's part of the way I could do it. You know, it's like going to the gym, you know. I mean, you don't just go to the gym and you know, work out and not come out of it without pain. If you go to the gym every day or jazzercise or whatever you do, you are building up strength. And for me, I was building up trust in God that this was going to come out. Either we believe it or we don't. Either we believe what Jesus said or we don't. And if we believe it, then it's ours to live it. And so I was doing my best to live it. Now, there were times when I could not. Now, you remember the point where Jesus said, okay, I give up, Father, you know, unto your hands I commit my spirit. Well, there were times I had to do that. And at those times, I asked for others to keep a high watch for me. That's why we have each other. You know, so if you're having a problem, don't ever hesitate to ask someone to pray with you, to keep you in their thoughts, and then just let it go. Stop thinking about how a wonderful person you got to be. Relax, let it go, let God's healing be done. You can cry. God doesn't care if you cry, okay? You don't have to be so big old tough, I got this handled. Yeah, there's sometimes we just can't handle it by ourselves. You remember, if you get a cut over here, your whole body, your nervous system says we need attention over here. Your white cells, blood, all the cells go and everything goes to protect you and to fix you. So we count on each other to keep the high watch for us. I also pray to saints. So yeah, my Catholic background, whatever. I think that if we are not limited by time and space, absolutely, if something's missing, you better believe I'm going to check in with St. Anthony to come around and see what's going on. But that's another part, is asking others, because they can keep the high watch for you, and knowing they're keeping the high watch helps you to relax and immerse yourself in your own suffering and get through it, okay? And then after that, we remember the teaching. Either this stuff works or it don't. If it doesn't, you know, if you don't believe it works, then don't bother practicing it. If you believe it works, then show you believe it works by living it and keeping yourself uplifted and remembering the best. Now, one of the hardest parts for me, and this is a very human part, so you're getting my very human self here, is that you wonder what people will think about how you handle it. In other words, if I say, well, I believe in eternal life. I believe Jesus rose from the dead. And they say, oh, yeah, really? And then they watch to see how you handle your crises, and is your faith there? Well, my faith was there. Even when I wasn't there, my faith was there. So, and Jesus' faith was there. And without that, we couldn't have done it. He couldn't have done the resurrection. And we can't get past our stuff. You know, Jesus was mocked. Those at the cross, a lot of the people came to jeer him. Hey, there, King of Kings, like, you know, throw yourself off of that cross. Well, that wasn't for him to do. It wasn't for him to do then. It wasn't the time. It wasn't right. But it's a message to us. He overcame. We can overcome. So even when in your heart of hearts you're saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? I invite you to know God will never forsake you. You are not of the world. You may be in it, but you're not of it. Rise above it. You will overcome. Remember, 3 days from now, after some tomb time thinking about it, resurrecting, Jesus came forth in glory. And so will Sammy, and so will you, and so will I. So I am so glad you took this time to spend with me today, and I only pray that something that I said may have touched your heart and made your day a little more focused on what you have to give up. You know, in Unity we say that the crucifixion means crossing off our human errors and our human nature. Why? So we can rise to something greater. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to post my video, so look on my timeline for that. That is the it's the Good Friday meditation on the Stations of the Cross. It's a metaphysical interpretation, so I hope you watch it. I'm thinking I may do a video on Easter morning. So if you don't have other plans and you want to join me for an Easter service at 11 o'clock, I'll be here. I'll be right here on Facebook, and you can go to church in your jammies. God bless you, and thank you for watching. And it was so good to see your names pop up on the lines that I know who is visiting with me. God bless. Bye-bye.